Chris here, and welcome to my channel. And as you can see by the setup, it's time to play Phase 10 Chooses My TBR. So we're this close to spooky season, and I am super duper excited. I have so many good spoopy books that I am looking forward to reading in the month of October. Speaking of spoopy and spooky season, I am taking part in one readathon in the month of October, and that is Spookopoly, which is hosted by Becca and the books. Normally it's Spookopoly and she does it in September, but she had a very busy September, so she pushed it to October and gave it a spooky edge. I will be doing a separate TBR video for that, but I'm very excited to be participating once again this year. I also want to mention that I am still doing my read-along of the Percy Jackson series, and we have finally done it, everyone. We have gotten to the new books. So the books for this month are going to be Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Chalice of the Gods, and a Nico D'Angelo adventure, The Sun and the Star. I am so incredibly excited to be reading the two new Percy Jackson universe books that came out this year. I have been looking forward to this one for quite a while because I believe this one was announced when the final Trials of Apollo book was out, like when I read it. So I knew this one was coming, but this one was a surprise, and I'm so excited to be reading a new book with Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. So these are the books for October. If you want to join in, there's a link in my Discord. Even if you haven't participated at all so far, if you want to hop in and chat about the two new books this month, I would love to hear your thoughts on them. With that out of the way, I'm going to mention my Buzzwordathon pick. The prompt for Buzzwordathon this month was magic or other words, but we were really encouraged to find books with the word magic in the title, so I went with Magic at Midnight. And I believe this is a Cinderella retelling. It says Cinder isn't supposed to know how to do magic. Her dog Sparks isn't supposed to talk. And they're definitely not supposed to go to the fancy palace ball. But with a fairy godmother named Brian, do we really think that's going to stop them? So this is the first book in the series, and I had a few options, but after the last few months, I decided to go with the easiest and shortest option. So Magic at Midnight it is. Then for TBR Knockout, we had to read a thriller, and I have gone with A Flicker in the Dark. I actually picked 4 and had my mom read about them and pick one for me because I like to go into my thrillers blind. I obviously read the blurb before I purchase a thriller or add it to like my want to read list, but usually I like to give myself enough time to have forgotten what it's about. So I picked 4 that looked interesting based on like covers and stuff, and have my mom read the inside since she had read them all and pick one for me that she thought I would enjoy the most, and this is the one she picked. So this will be my thriller for October. And then the other prompt was to read a book with a monster in it. And my first thought when I heard monster was to read a horror book or to read a book with a serial killer, and neither of those is something I'm particularly into. So I decided to be a bit cheeky, and I'm going to read One Star's Confection by Aaron Hunter, which is part of the Warrior series, because in this world we're following groups of forest cats who live in clans, and they're trying to coexist, and they have different names for a lot of things, and one of their things is when they see cars, they refer to them as monsters. And I know, based on what I know about One Star, that there were definitely monsters in his life. He definitely had encounters with monsters and the thunder path that they tend to walk on or run on. I guess it would be run for them. And so I figured I would kind of twist this prompt to make it work for something I would actually want to read. Not that I don't have books that would have monsters in them, because like I've read the Amelia Fang books and I would definitely say those have monsters in them, but like off the top of my head, I couldn't think of any books I had that I knew were going to be featuring a monster. So I decided to be cheeky and give myself a fun book that I'm really looking forward to reading and give myself my favorite series in the month of October. Which brings me to my nonfiction pick of the month. For this, I'm going to go with Anne Frank's Diary, the graphic adaptation. So, this has currently been banned. And if you've been following my channel for a little bit, you know that if I hear a book is banned, I am 10 times more likely to go pick it up. I read the original Anne Frank's Diary when I was 10. I remember this because I know I was reading it, and I went to spend a month with my grandmother in Florida, and I can remember taking the book out of the library in Florida so I could finish it. Because I had taken it out of my public library up here in New York, and I wanted to be able to finish it. So I remember my gram bringing me to the library in Florida so that I could check the book out in Florida so that I could finish her story. And it was banned, and apparently the reasoning is because she expresses thoughts of wanting to kiss somebody else, and she uses the word penis. Didn't harm me to read that when I was 10. And I believe the kids who were reading this book or having it read to them were the same age as Anne was in this book. And I'm betting she faced a lot worse things than those kids were than expressing a desire to kiss somebody and the word penis. Like, based on what I know of Anne's story, there's a lot more horrific things in there than wanting to kiss somebody else and the word penis. So I am definitely excited to check this out and to re-familiarize myself with Anne's story and get to see it in a whole new life. Very excited to be getting to this in the month of October. And so that brings me to my favorite / least favorite part of the month, my TBR jar of doom. This is getting massively overfull. I have a lot of sequels on my TBR this month that I have out of the library that, like, their books came out in either September or October. I had been previously caught up, but the newest ones are out now. So I had to add them back in, hence why this is, like, overflowing. I don't know if you can see the white pieces of paper, but I also have no idea what happened to my construction paper, so I had to use printer paper. But they're all in there, all the series I started since I last updated my jar, and yeah, we're gonna do this, but there is absolutely no way I'm not getting paper everywhere. So we're gonna go with this green one here, that orange one, and ooh, a purple one. How appropriate. Green, orange, and purple. Feels very spooky season. I wish you guys could see the amount of paper on the floor. Okay, so our first series is Ever After High by Shannon Hale. Not super excited about this, but we'll see what we can do. So I can do this one. The third book in this series is The Wonderlandiful World. And this is a retelling, and in the first book we're following the daughters of the Evil Queen and Snow White as they go to this school to teach the kids how to basically reenact their parents' story, because the stories just happen over and over again. And eventually Snow White's daughter would become the Snow White, and the Evil Queen's daughter would become the Evil Queen. This one takes place in Wonderland based on the description, and I'm very curious to see how that turns out. I have a not so great relationship with Alice in Wonderland retellings because it was never my favorite story, so we'll see how this one goes. And yeah, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a chunky adult fantasy. Series number 2 is extremely nice to me. It's Mother Bruce by Ryan T. Higgins. This is a children's picture book that was questioned, and I read the first one, so I am totally down to read the second one because that makes life really easy. So the second book in this series is Hotel Bruce. The premise of the first book is that Bruce is an extremely grumpy bear who ends up becoming the mother figure to 4 goslings. And in this one, he returns home to find out that mice have turned his den into a hotel. I'm sure this is going to be a very cute, easy read. I'm very excited to check it out, and this is being nice to me. I'm a little worried, because those are 2 relatively easy things to read. The third series is another easy one. Wind Riders by Jen Marlin. Let me go grab it. I own that one. So the second book is Search for the Scarlet Macaws. And we're following Max and Sophia, and they're going to be heading to the largest tropical rainforest. The amazing Amazon is in danger as part of the forest has been burned down and beautiful scarlet macaws are disappearing. Can Max and Sophia, with their new friend Paolo, figure out a way to protect the scarlet macaws and their habitat? So the first one, I want to say maybe involved turtles? Yeah, I think so, because I believe it was called Rescue on Turtle Beach. It says, each story features a new species and environment and proposes a solution to a human-made threat. I read the first book, I believe, for one of the 48-hour rounds of Bookopoly, so it is really funny that I managed to pull this out of my TBR jar in a month where I'm also doing Bookopoly. I really, really enjoyed the first book and thought it was cute and informative, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Sophia and Max and the Scarlet Macaws get up to and how they've been affected and how we can help. So that wasn't bad at all. We're putting our series back in our jar because none of them are caught up. I'm pleasantly surprised because 2 of those are really easy. And while I'm not exactly jazzed about the Ever After High one, if memory serves, that series isn't exactly hard to read, so I'm happy. That means I can officially put this away for the month and move on to this. And I'm nervous that this was nice because that's not going to be. So, a little bit of admin. First off, I did not end up finishing my TBR last month. Basically, my oldest cat hurt her leg, and I got kind of distracted with that, so I didn't end up reading my books. So I have to remove this lovely reward prompt and replace it with, we'll go with this punishment prompt. And it is the 28th. I have to read The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi, I believe it's called. I haven't started that yet. A majority of the 3rd book in the Bones season series, and a good chunk of the Autumn Republic. I don't have high hopes for that, mainly because NSYNC is dropping their first song in over 20 years tomorrow, and I get the feeling I'm going to be very, very distracted with that, and I won't be reading. So I'm accepting now that I'm going to have to put a punishment on this board. If by some chance I do manage to finish all of that, then I would get to swap it out just like I did the reverse this month. And if I end up pulling the punishment prompt, but end up needing to get a reward, I will figure out what I want to do with that when the time comes. So, let's give these a quick shuffle. And we'll go with this one. Ooh, a green one. I think this is the first time I've ever had any sort of punishment or reward on anything but blue and red. So that should be fun. As you can see, also, I had finished a phase last time, so I've now got my board reset up. I am going for a set of 3, so 12s or 4s, and a run of 4, which is going to be 7, 8, 9, and 10, or 8, 9, 10, and 11. I also have a skip over there, which I will be using at my earliest convenience after the last few months, because, well, I would like a shot at actually finishing my TBR. So we'll mix this prompt back into the deck so that it has a shot of getting back on the board sometime soon. Though, of course, there was no guarantee I was going to pull a green one anyways. And then we'll also slide the green one back in, and again, give this a shuffle. Not that I need a green one, but should it come up, I at least want a shot at being able to pull my punishment. Well, I mean, I don't, but, like, I think it's only fair that there is at least a shot. There are 2 green ones in this deck, so there is always a chance. I'm hoping I don't pull either a blue 3 or a green 1, because I can't use them over there. So, yeah. Okay, with that all out of the way, let's hop in and do draw number 1. A red one. I'll take a red one. Red ones are fine. Green ones are not. And the first prompt is contemporary. So for this, I'm going to go with the True Love Experiment because it's a contemporary romance. This is the sequel to the Soulmate Equation. And we're following the best friend of the main character of the first book. I really enjoyed the first book, and I'm looking forward to reading, is it Felicity? Jess might have been her friend. I think her friend's name was Jess. But this will follow Felicity, who is Jess's, I think her name is Jess. If not, I'll pop it up on the screen. Her best friend, and we're getting to follow her shot at love. And this one, like I said, I really enjoyed the first one, so why not give the second one a try and read a contemporary romance? Draw number 2 is a green 8. I do not need 8s. Well, a red 8 might have been nice. But green 8 is highest rated. So the highest rated book on my want to read shelf on Goodreads is about 9/11, and I have to be in a very specific headspace to want to listen to that or read about that. So we're going to skip that. The next two I do not own and don't have access to via my library, but the fourth one, which I believe was rated 4.64, is The Last Devil to Die, which is a Thursday murder club mystery which follows 4 septuagenarians who solve like cold cases and mysteries, and I have absolutely loved this series. This is one of the series I mentioned earlier in the video where I was caught up to the newest book, and the newest book just recently came out. So I am so incredibly excited to be able to stick this book on my TBR because I want to see what kind of shenanigans this group gets up to now. Draw number 3 is a red 7. So that would give me my run, because 7, 8, 9, 10, and we're just going to use my skip and skip prompt number 3. Draw number 4 is a blue 10. That does not help me. And the prompt for blue 10, book with a rainbow on the cover. So this was a tricky one because I feel like a lot of the books that I had on my TBR that I had in mind for this prompt I've read, but we're going to go with Letting Go of Gravity by Meg Lederer, because as you can see, the birds kind of have all the colors of the rainbow on them. So I think that's probably as close as I'm going to get. It says, twins Parker and Charlie are polar opposites. Where Charlie is fearless, Parker is careful. Charlie is confident while Parker aims to please. Charlie is outgoing and outspoken. Parker is introverted and reserved. And of course, there's the one other major difference. Charlie got leukemia. Parker didn't. So this sounds like it's going to be quite a hard-hitting book. Although it does say that Charlie's in remission. So we're going to see how this goes and what life has in store for Charlie and Parker. Draw number 5 is a yellow 10. That also does not help me. The prompt for yellow 10, newest purchase. Well, that's easy enough. I got this in the mail today. I don't think you can get much more newest purchase than that. Like I said earlier, I am so incredibly excited to finally be able to get my hands on this, and putting this on my TBR is really a no-brainer. Draw number 6. I figured one of these was going to come up sooner or later. Yay. Draw number 6, part 2 is a green 2. Close, close. The prompt for green 2 is dictionary.com. Oh, this could go one of two ways. So what this means is that I have to look up the word of the day, and today the word is spumescent? Spumescent. And it means foamy, foam-like, or frothy. Okay, so that turned out to be easier than I thought. I'm going to read A Cup of Holiday Fear because I'm going to count that as foam. I know it's probably whipped cream, but it is foamy whipped cream, and I was really terrified about this prompt. So foamy whipped cream. This is, I don't know, book 10 or something like that in the Bake Shop Mystery series, and we're following Jules, who has returned home to help her mom run a bake shop. And I've been really enjoying this cozy mystery series, though I'm not quite ready for Christmas in spooky season, but I will take it. Also, while looking, I just want to let everybody know that I found another rainbow right there on this little bunny shirt, and I'm mad because this would have been a much faster read. I legitimately looked at that and just did not see the rainbow when I was looking for a rainbow for the rainbow prompt. Draw number 7 is a red 10. Well, I'm 110 away from having the whole set. And the prompt for red 10, image on the spine. So for this, I'm going to go with One Piece, Volume 2, because there is a creepy clown on the spine of this book. So I read the first volume last month and enjoyed it, and I'm curious to see what Luffy gets up to in book 2. Draw number 8. I knew things were being too nice to me. Draw number 8, part 2. And there's my set. I've got every color of the rainbow in 10s. Let's see what the green 10 has in store for me. 5 or more words in the title. For this, I'm going to read Enola Holmes and the Mark of the Mongoose. I am buddy reading this with Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf. We have buddy read pretty much every other book in the series, and when she asked me if I wanted to buddy read the new one, I said absolutely, positively, 100% yes. We were hoping to get to it in September. It just didn't work out that way because I had to wait to see when I was going to get my copy, but I got it. We can read it in October, and I'm so very, very excited to be popping back into Enola Holmes' universe. She is the younger sister of Sherlock, and I've really enjoyed this retelling, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words in the title, so definitely counts for the prompt. Can I just point out that I know one of those prompts, these punishment ones, is start your TBR over again, meaning I would have to scrap all this, couldn't put any of the books I've mentioned back on my TBR, which would be sad. I know one is you're not allowed to read any books in a series, and that would make me very, very sad because the majority of the books I read are in series. So really, really want to avoid those two now, but because of this. Though the bright side is if I really, really hustle, I can negate that one. But it doesn't help me if I have to do something like scrap my TBR or something. Okay, anyways, we'll see how it goes. Draw number 9. Easy, red 3. I can take a red 3. The prompt for red 3 is book from last haul. So, my last haul would constitute the books I hauled in April, May, and June. I haven't filmed it yet, but that would be the last haul because the next one would be July, August, and September, and we're in September, so the last haul would be the previous 3 months. And my last haul, because that's how I'm ruling hauls, I'm going to go with The Sun and the Star. I got this in May. I haven't been doing like proper book hauls where I buy like 20 books at a time, or even a little free library haul where I grab a bunch of books at once. So I'm going with like the last 3 months, which would be my last book haul for my channel, which I just haven't filmed yet. I'm hoping to get to it soon. But this would be in there, and I've got to read it anyway, so we're sticking it on my TBR. And for what is hopefully my final regular draw number 10, is a blue 12. Oh, no. We will be keeping that blue 12, and we're going to get rid of one of these green 4s. Okay, green 4. Romance. So for this, I'm going to go with The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I've heard a lot of really good things about this. This is a witchy romance, and I thought it would be perfect for spooky season. I've actually tried to read this before. I took it out of the library, and usually what I do is any books that me and my mom have crossover in, which tend to be like cozy mysteries in general a lot of times, and romance, I'm usually letting her read them first, because I request them in such a way that they're not on this month's TBR. So, like, I got this out of the library like a week ago, and I knew it wasn't going to get read until October. But the last time I tried to request this, it was still relatively new. So, like, I had waited for a while, finally got it, my mom read it, and she brought it back to the library without giving it to me. So I've been trying to read this book for ages, because, again, I've heard really, really good things about it. And so I'm hoping it lives up to all of the hype, and that I enjoy it too, even though I'm incredibly picky with romances. Okay, that means it's time for wild roll number 1, and we're hoping for a 1. And we got a 4. I'm not happy about this. The more pulls I have, the more likely I am to A, hit a punishment, or B, hit more wilds. So wild 1, draw 1, is a green 9, which does not help me, but isn't a punishment, so we'll take it. The prompt for green 9 is easy, cozy mystery. So for this, I'm going to go with The Proof is in the Poison. This is the second book in a Southern homebrew mystery, and we're following Hattie, who owns her own homebrew business and has a adorable cat named Smokey, and an interesting relationship with her grandfather, who is quite the character, and I really enjoyed the first mystery. And this one, an attendee at the Chattanooga Choo Choo Model Train Convention dies after drinking some of Hattie's moonshine, so she's going to have to prove her innocence. I really enjoyed the first one, so I'm looking forward to diving back into this series. Wild 1, draw 2. It's a yellow 8. I can work with that. The prompt for yellow 8 is Becca's Bookopoly. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to do a 6th roll. With Becca's Bookopoly, she does 5 rolls, so I usually do 5 rolls. So in this case, I will do a 6th roll and add a 6th book onto my Spookopoly TBR, since I'm already playing Bookopalathon this month. So if you want to see what I end up picking for this prompt, you will have to watch that video. I think that's going to be the easiest way to do that this month, because I don't really want to have to play the old board. I think spooky is fun, so we'll see what I get for my 6th roll, and hopefully it will be something I enjoy. Wild 1, draw 3. It's a blue 3. I'm scared. Guys, I'm scared. And the punishment for blue 3 is I cannot use a DNF. I'm okay with this. What this means is that while I'm reading, I cannot DNF a book. Well, actually I can. But if I DNF the proof is in the poison, which I can't imagine I would have to then read a different book to fulfill the prompt, because I can't count a DNF as completing the prompt. I hope that makes sense. Like, usually I go, well, I'm not enjoying this, I'm going to DNF it, I completed the prompt. But in this case, I would have to pick a different book, so I still have to read the book. I just don't want to force myself to read something I'm, like, hating and really not jiving with, because that will make me slump. So I don't want to say I can't DNF. I'm saying that I can't use a DNF to fulfill the prompt, therefore I would have to pick something different. I hope that makes sense. And that does not count as my actual draw, because it's not a book. So Wild 1, draw 3, part 2 is a blue 2. We'll replace the blue 3 before I forget, and the prompt for blue 2, as I'm looking to make sure I don't need it, is Own Voices. So for this, I'm going to read Witchlings, The Golden Frog Games by Claribel A. Ortega. And it says here that she writes middle grade and young adult fantasy inspired by her Dominican heritage. And this follows Seven Salazar. And in the first book, she's trying to retain her magic when she is not sorted into a coven and ends up a spare with 2 other girls. And I really enjoyed the first one. I'm pretty sure this is going to be, again, based on, like I said in her bio on here, her Dominican heritage. So I'm feeling like this is definitely an Own Voices book, and I'm excited to dive back into this series because I really enjoyed the first one. The final draw for Wild number 1, draw number 4, is an 11, and I can use an 11. So we now have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I can't use 12. Oh, let's go with the blue 2. Again, this prompt didn't get to stay up long. Let's see what it is. It is chapter titles. So this means I need a book that has names for their chapters besides chapter 1, chapter 2, etc. This actually worked out really well because I completely forgot to mention this earlier. For this, I'm going to go with The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This is the Middle Grade March Book Club pick for October. And as you can see right here, there are chapter titles. So the first chapter is How Nobody Came to the Graveyard. I have read this before, but I listened to the audiobook, and when I saw that it was the book club pick, I figured it was a good time to give it a reread and actually physically read along, because I feel like I retain a lot more that way, especially when it's a series I'm not as familiar with. This is a standalone, so a book I'm not familiar with. So I am very excited to give this another go and see if I enjoy it more when I can physically read along. So, time to swap out the wilds. So now it is time for Wild 2's roll, and we got another 4. Okay, could have been worse. It could have been a 6. Wild 2, draw 1, is a green 11. I will take anything and everything that is not a green one. So, the prompt for green 11 is historical fiction not set during World War II. Perfect. So for this, I'm going to read Murder at Midnight by Catherine Shellman. This is the next book in the Lily Adler mystery series, and this is a Regency widow named Lily. Oh, and it's Christmas time! Another Christmas book, aren't I lucky? But chapter 1 starts with Hertfordshire, 1816. So definitely not during World War II. I've really enjoyed this. She is a widow who has solved crimes. I've enjoyed the first 3 books, and I'm quite looking forward to reading the 4th, even if it means having to read Christmas books in spooky month. Wild to draw 2 is a green 5. And the prompt for green 5 is Player's Choice. Oh, it was nice to me. I can read anything. I have to pick a book, but I can legitimately read anything, and I'm going to go with Bathe the Cat. Because it's a children's picture book. And I have a lot of books on my TBR. So this is another book that was challenged and was pulled off of shelves because of the audacity of the fact that this family is working on chores, and one of them is to bathe their cat. And the issue with this story is the fact that the book features a gay couple with 2 dads. That's the only issue. There are 2 dads in this book. The children in this book have 2 dads. That's it. That's the whole issue. So I decided to get it out of my library because I can't imagine that this book is that offensive. Especially not for the fact that the kids have 2 dads. So bringing some attention to this one. If you have little ones in your life and think that these book bans are ridiculous, bathe the cat, people. Wild to draw 3. And that is why I picked a picture book for Player's Choice. You all are going to love this. I know that when I watch somebody else's TBR games and they just get completely wrecked and their TBR game screws them over, I think it's hilarious. It's entertaining. So I know you guys are going to enjoy this. I'm not. I promise you I'm not. Wild to draw 3 is a 6. I can use a 6. Bam. Phase done. Whoo, whoo. Because I have my set of 3 in 1, 2, 3 12s. And my run of 4 is now 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And my reward is I can add a reward to the board, or I can remove a punishment. Y'all want to guess what I'm going to do? Dun, 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 dun. Bye-bye. Ho, ho, ho. And we're going to replace it with this prompt. Voila, no more punishments. I can't get completely screwed. Oh, I do need to steal one of these. So we're going to steal the 4 since that's the only one I haven't put over there. Okay, right. I do need a prompt here, but it still counts. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so green 4. Rick Riordan presents. So for this, I'm going to read Spirit Glass by Roshani Chokshi. This is a standalone. And it's her latest book, and it's a Rick Riordan presents, so it's going to have something to do with mythology. I don't know anything else about it. It was the Owl Crate Junior middle grade pick for September. And I legitimately know nothing else about it off the top of my head, and I haven't even opened the plastic, and I'm not going to until it's time to read it. So this is going to be my book for Rick Riordan Presents. Wild to draw 4 is a green 11. Lots of greens today. Another BookTuber's TBR. So I was terrified here because the first thing that came to my mind was the 4th Wheel of Time book. No, 5th Wheel of Time book, which I had just seen on Becca's TBR today. But then I remembered that I was pretty sure I saw a book I wanted to get to this month on Steph's TBR. And oh my god, Steph, you have saved my butt so bad. She added lights to her TBR. This is the 3rd book in the Sheet series, which is, it says the finale. So this would be completing a series, which is even more apt, since Steph is the creator of the Final Book Support Group, so this is definitely right up her alley. And in this, we're following a girl named Marjorie, whose mom has died, her dad is struggling, she has a little brother, and they own a laundromat, and she's kind of had to pick up the slack while her dad is struggling with the loss of his wife. So I've really enjoyed the first two. They're graphic novels. They're very spoopy, because I will tell you, there is a ghost in these books, and I've absolutely loved the first two, and I'm so excited to see how this story wraps up. Even though it is a 360-page graphic novel, it is still better than having to read a Robert Jordan book. Okay, it's time to swap out my wilds again. Okay, so Wild 3. Let's see what we're getting for that. A 6. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yep. I did say earlier it was being too nice to me, and some of these prompts have been really, really nice, so yeah. At least I have no more punishments, and the one punishment I did get was relatively easy to handle. Wild 3, draw 1. Oh, I got lucky. So lucky. And the prompt for green 1 is standalone. Not a punishment, standalone. Well, that's easy enough. I'm going to go with A Flicker in the Dark. As far as I know, this is a standalone, and it is a thriller, so I'm going into it blind, don't know anything about it. It's already on my TBR, so I might as well use it for standalone. Wild 3, draw 2, is a yellow 3. And the prompt for yellow 3 is shortest book on my TBR. Hotel Bruce. Can't imagine that I have a book in my room right now that I was planning to read that is shorter than this, so we're going to go with Hotel Bruce, since, again, it's another one that's already on my TBR. Wild 3, draw 3 is a green 10. Lowest rated. Great. I'm thrilled. So, at a lowly 3.41, I have to read Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch. It's set in a German duchy in 1618. And Katrina Kepler is accused of being a witch. She's an illiterate widow known for her herbal recipes and her successful children, including eldest Johannes, who is the imperial mathematician and the renowned author of the laws of planetary motion. And she's done herself no favors by being out and about in everyone's business, so when the deranged and insipid Ursula accuses her of offering Ursula a bitter witchy drink that has made her ill, Katharina is in trouble, facing the threat of financial ruin, torture, and even extinction. So, I mean, at least it's witchy, sort of. So, I suppose it's appropriate for spooky season. But I don't have high hopes, and I can't DNF it. Well, I mean, I can DNF it. But if I DNF it, then I have to read my next lowest rated, which is rated higher than this, but is still the now lowest. Anyways, I don't know if it'll even get to that point, but if it does, I will let you know in a vlog, so keep your eye out for that. Oh, I have 3 more books left. This is just a... Oh, okay. Wild 3, draw 4 is a 6. We're just hoping for anything but wilds. A red 6. Multiple people on the cover. So for this, I'm going to go with Anne Frank's Diary, the graphic adaptation, because, well, there's tons of people on the cover, and I've got to read it anyways, and the more of the I've got to read it anyways books I can get on my TBR, the better right now. Wild 3, draw 5 is a blue 8. And the prompt for blue 8 is colorful cover. So for this, I'm going to read The Lost Library by Rebecca Steed and Wendy Mass. As you can see, there's colors all over this cover. This says, when a mysterious little free library guarded by a large orange cat appears overnight in the small town of Martinville, 11-year-old Evan plucks 2 weathered books from its shelves, never suspecting that his life is about to change. Evan and his best friend, Rafe, quickly discover a link between one of the old books and a long-ago event that none of the grown-ups want to talk about. The 2 boys start asking questions whose answer will transform not only their futures, but the town itself. Told in turn by a ghost librarian named Al, an aging but beautiful cat named Mortimer, and Evan himself, The Lost Library is a timeless story from award-winning authors Rebecca Steed and Wendy Mass. It's about owning your truth, choosing the life you want, and the power of a good book. And of course, the librarian who gave it to you. Very excited to check this one out. And I mean, you've got a ghost librarian, so there's some spooky. The cover has a little bit of spooky vibes, and it's very colorful. So taking that as a win. And unless this is wild, which it could be, this should be my final draw. Wild 3, draw 6 is a 6. Oh, we're done as soon as I figure out what I'm reading for this. And the prompt is adult. For this, I'm going to go with 9 Lives and Alibis by Kate Conti. This is the 7th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. Yes, 7th book in the Cat Cafe mystery series. And we follow Maddie, who owns a cat cafe. And it literally says it's October in Daybreak Harbor, which means everything Halloween. So perfect timing to read this book. So excited to get into it. This is another series where the newest book has just come out and I'm trying to catch up on it and put it back on my up-to-date series list. So very, very excited to be reading this. And there you go. There you have it. Those are all of the books I have to read in the month of October. I'm expecting That Punishment to end up back on the board. I do not have high hopes. A lot of these books I was hoping to get to, but that's still a lot to have to get to. And I haven't been great about that lately, so wish me luck. I'm going to need it. With that being said, it's time to wrap this video up, because I have books stacked everywhere and pieces of paper are everywhere, and I would like to put my room back together. So, all of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me clover emojis, because again, luck. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!